Chapter 12. As of this morning, scientists everywhere can add Ben Robbins and Aretha Timmons to the amazing list of famous chemical reactions. This list includes, among many other things, baking soda and vinegar, which together produce carbon dioxide gas, and diluted hydrochloric acid mixed up with sodium sulfide, which makes a stinkazoid rotten egg smell in no time. Now it includes Ben and Aretha. By themselves, they're just two ordinary human beings. Together, they are a Ben and Aretha explosion. This morning, Mrs. Tuttle's class listened to the presidential candidates' speeches. I did not have high hopes, even with Aretha on the ticket. First of all, as the head speechwriter, I knew just how lousy Ben's speech was. When you are writing a speech at the same time your mom is standing behind you ranting and raving, well, it can be a little hard to concentrate. I'd been sitting at my desk, chewing on my pencil, completely unable to find a good way to say Ben is not as crazy as you think, when my mom burst into my room. She was wearing her bathrobe and had this funny pink plastic cap she wears when she's going to take a shower but doesn't want to wash her hair. Which is when it hit me. We'd completely forgotten about the mold samples getting jump-started in my mom's shower. I was doomed. I'm not sure where you got the idea my shower stall is a science lab buster, but you are sadly mistaken, my mom said, waving a hairbrush around in the air. Just because my mom is Miss No Spanking, just lots of boring lectures, doesn't mean she won't make you nervous that maybe she's changed her mind. Did you really think I was going to let you use my shower to grow mold? We were going to take the mold out before you got back, I tried to explain. I guess I sort of forgot. Besides, it wasn't even mold, it was just potential mold. My mom pointed the hairbrush at me. Well, it's mold now, Mac. Really? I couldn't believe it. Our experiment had worked at super warp speed. That's great. My mom stared me down. She used her best, I'm your mother, and buy all your clothes and food and pay your doctor's bills and work hard each and every day, and you are in so much trouble you can't even believe it, look. Your shower stall was kind of moldy already, Mom, I said, hoping to reason with her. Really, a few more mold spores aren't going to make that big of a difference. If my mom had been a cartoon character, this would have been the point where steam started coming out of her ears. I can't believe Sarah let you do this, she said, starting to pace back and forth across my room. I always thought she was so responsible, but now I have to wonder. I couldn't believe it. I had never heard my mother doubt the complete wonderfulness of Sarah Fortmire before. Were Sarah's days as teenage girl's space alien babysitter numbered? Would we get a normal babysitter instead? Maybe we'd get one of those old lady babysitters who were always baking cookies and telling you to run along and watch TV. I liked this idea. I liked it a lot. In fact, I sort of started daydreaming about it right then. The old lady babysitter would never wear purple clothes or feather earrings, and she'd wear one of those sweaters with pockets filled with candy, lots of candy. I sighed. Even with my mom steaming behind me, I was feeling sort of peaceful and relaxed thinking about this new old lady babysitter tossing around peppermint patties and Hershey's Kisses left and right. And then I remembered the worms. All 12 of them hunted down by Sarah Fortmire in the backyard, 11 of them in pristine condition. Sarah didn't know anything about it, I told my mom. Ben and I set up the experiment while she was putting Margaret to bed. We sort of snuck around her. My mom harumphed, and then she made me spend an hour washing out her shower stall with a scrubber and some stinky bleach solution, even though no mold was actually growing anywhere on the tiles in her shower stall, at least not mold that I personally was responsible for. So anyway, by the time I got around to finishing the speech, I wasn't exactly at my most energetic best. The second reason I didn't have high hopes was that, as Ben's best friend, I knew just how bad Ben was at making speeches. Third, as a human being alive on this planet, I knew that even with Aretha's help, Ben still had about a 0% chance of winning this election. But here's the brilliant scheme Ben came up with. He convinced Mrs. Tuttle to let Aretha give his speech with him. They would speak last, after Roland, Stacy, and Chester had all taken their turns. I couldn't decide if this was a good or bad thing. On one hand, by the time Ben and Aretha made their speech, everyone might be sick of speeches. But maybe because their speech was the last speech, it would be the speech everyone remembered. Too bad it was such a lousy speech. Fortunately, Roland Forth had a lousy speech too. The thing about Roland is that he is a hummer. Wherever he is, sitting at his desk, playing kickball during recess, or eating a peanut butter sandwich at lunch, he's always humming. Sometimes it's sort of funny, like when he's humming and kicking the kickball at the same time. Mostly, though, it's the most irritating thing that ever happened to you. Try taking a geography test while a kid in the third row of your class is humming. The wheels on the bus go round and round, and you'll see what I mean. What happened during Roland's speech is that he would say a sentence and then he would hum a little. Sentence, hum. Sentence, hum. And after a while, it was totally impossible to concentrate on what he was saying because you were too busy waiting for the humming to start again. Next came Chester. I was afraid his speech would be so funny that people would just automatically vote for him right then and there, even though the election wasn't until Thursday. Chester, in my opinion, will be the hardest person to beat. Unlike Roland, he's normal. Unlike Stacy, he's nice, and unlike Ben, he would have made a good president. But what I thought could never happen in a million years happened. Chester gave an unfunny speech. You could tell he wanted to see he wanted everyone to see his serious side. I guess that's a problem for naturally funny people. Nobody even knows they have a serious side. The problem with Chester's serious side was it was sort of boring. He said a lot of stuff about rules he would make, like no spitting out gum in the water fountain, which he personally found really gross, and no do-overs in kickball just because the pitcher had rolled a bouncy pitch. After Chester gave his speech, I looked around the classroom. Everybody's mouth was hanging open, like they were thinking, when did the space aliens come trade out Chester's personality for the personality of the most boring person who ever lived? Stacy's speech was about good manners and respecting the teacher and getting more pizza parties. When she finished, all her friends chanted, "Go Stacy! Go Stacy!" If she wins class president, I will automatically be transferring to another school. When it was time for Ben to make his speech, Aretha came and stood beside him. What I didn't know is that they had worked up a routine. Ben didn't exactly give the speech. He had written it out on big poster sheets and illustrated each poster with cartoons. So the speech started with Ben holding out a poster with a picture of his face on it that said, "Hi, my name is Ben Robbins, and I am running for president of Mrs. Tuttle's 4th grade class." Then Aretha stepped forward. Why vote for Ben? That's a good question. It is a question I have asked myself many times, especially now that I am running for vice president on Ben's ticket. Here's the first good reason. You should vote for Ben because he was smart enough to ask me to be his vice president. Ben pulled out another poster. This one had a picture of Aretha on it. Beneath the picture Ben had printed out, Aretha Timmons is my vice presidential candidate. Besides being one of the smartest people in our class, she's organized and fair. Aretha nodded. That's right, folks. A vote for Ben is also a vote for me. Now let me tell you some other reasons to vote for Ben. He is a creative problem solver. He thinks we need more snacks and a longer recess. He won an honorable mention in the 4th grade science fair, which shows he is a good student. The speech went on from there. Every point that Aretha made was illustrated in Ben's artistic genius style. She said stuff in a way that made you think she was 100% correct. Even though the speech I had written was pretty boring, Aretha made it sound interesting. Ben's pictures almost made you feel like you were watching Saturday morning cartoons. You could tell just by looking around that people were starting to feel like a Ben and Aretha presidency would be a fun and exciting experience that they would want to be a part of. In fact, after the applause following the speech had died down, a bunch of kids went up to Aretha and asked how they could help with the campaign. I felt sort of famous just because Ben was my best friend. That was awesome, I told him when he came back to his seat. You guys did a great job. Instead of looking excited, though, Ben looked sort of worried. What's wrong? I asked him. I don't know, he said. I guess when I was up there and everybody really liked what we were doing, it sort of felt like we were tricking them. Politics is a tricky business, I pointed out. I don't actually know what that means. It just means something my dad says a lot during election years. I guess, Ben said, but he looked unhappy. It's just, now, if people vote for me, it'll be because of that speech. Isn't that the idea? You give a good speech, people vote for you. But what they liked is how we gave the speech, Ben said, chewing on a fingernail, not what we said. I want them to vote for me and my ideas. Otherwise, it's just some stupid popularity contest. It had never occurred to me that Ben would actually care why people voted for him. I thought he just wanted their votes for whatever reason, just so his dad would be happy that Ben was class president. Scientifically speaking, it looked like the political process was turning Ben into a serious human being, which was a little frightening, if you want to know the truth. Aretha leaned over and popped Ben on the arm with her pencil. "Don't look so glum, chum. I think we're going to win this election." Ben nodded. "Yeah, I know," he said. "It's pretty cool." But you could tell he didn't mean it.